In this video, we're going to start talking about the hook system in React. We're going to first begin with a general description of what hooks are, and then we're going to very quickly dive into a written code example so that you can understand exactly how and when to use hooks. All right, so let's get to it. Now, the first thing I want to tell you about the hook system is kind of a quick review on a lot of the stuff that we've done throughout this course already. Throughout this course, we've been making use of class-based components left and right. With class-based components, we get access to component-level state by initializing a state object and then calling that setState method. Anytime we call setState, we know that we are going to re-render our component. Class-based components also have access to lifecycle methods, such as component did update, component did mount, component will unmount, and we've made use of those quite a bit throughout the course as well. When we think about function-based components, components that are just simply functions that return some amount of JSX, we don't really have a lot of that similar functionality with them. So by default, function-based components do not have access to component-level state. There is no setState method associated with a function-based component. In addition, function-based components don't have any lifecycle methods. Essentially, anytime we call a function-based component, we're just going to return some JSX, and that's pretty much it. So throughout this course, we've really been making use of function-based components just for simple presentation-level components, or in other words, components that just return some JSX and don't have a lot of logic associated with them. So the hook system is going to change that entirely. With the hook system of React, we can introduce component-level state and kind of lifecycle methods to function-based components. So the hook system is all about borrowing some functionality from the class-based component world and adding it to our function-based components. Now, at first glance, you might take a look at this and say, okay, that's great. Why would we care? Why do we care about using state with function-based components? Why do we care about using lifecycle methods? Why don't we just continue using class-based components? Well, at first glance, when you look at the hook system, it's going to seem like we are trying to use function-based components in place of class-based components. And like I said, that doesn't really seem that exciting, right? So why do we want to use hooks at all? Well, the real answer to that is that hooks are going to make it really, really easy to share logic between different components. We're talking about like just about any type of logic that you can imagine. We're going to take a look at several examples of how we can very easily share and reuse business logic between different components inside of our application. And along the way, you're going to better understand how hooks are going to solve issues around code reuse inside of typical React projects that's kind of hard to address with class-based components. So again, at first glance, the hook system is going to make it seem like we are just trying to add in state and lifecycle methods to function-based components, but at the end of the day, the real purpose of the hook system is to make it easy to share logic. And I just want you to keep that in mind, because when we start working with hooks in this example, you're going to say, well, that's great, we can do this with a function-based component, who cares, right? All right, so let's take a pause right here. When we come back in the next video, we're going to start taking a look at an application we're going to build to better understand how hooks work.